FDP series on journal writing in collaboration with London University, Singapore. We have planned for 52 days series, which will happen on every Friday from 12 noon to 2 p.m. And today is the day one of the FDP series, and I welcome you all for the session on the topic outlining the steps for effective journal writing. We shall start this session with the word of prayer. So we shall wait for a minute. Our principal and vice principal is joining, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Rukmani, Vice Principal of the college.
Thank you so much for joining us, ma'am. Madam, shall we start, ma'am?
Can you check whether principal has joined?
Yes. Ma'am, she is getting connected, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Ma'am, Star has joined. Shall we start, ma'am? We just had a prayer and
Yeah. I had some issues with my link. Professor, very good afternoon. This is Padma. Yeah, Shashin
Glad to
Jain
see
College
you.
Principal.
Glad to see you, ma'am. How are you?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we are very fine here. How about you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Hope you too.
Thank you.
shall we start, ma'am?
Ma'am, please proceed.
So, today we have with us Dr. Professor Dilip Kumar M., Vice Chancellor and full Professor of Business Management in GNS University, India, to discuss on the topic outlining the steps for effective journal writing. With a double doctorate in behavioral sciences and business administration, he has undertaken several research projects of strategic management, consumer behavior, entrepreneurship, SMEs development, tourism development, human resource management, and organizational behavior in various countries. Sharing his literary interest, he has written 80 short case studies in business management, 180 international and national peer-reviewed journals, and presented more than 76 papers in international and national conferences. Add to his academic credentials, he has 2 patents, 4 patent publications, 6 copyrights, written 9 books in business management, including 4 case study books and 3 monographs. He is an editor and editorial.
Ma'am, there is a disturbance in your audio. Ma'am, there is a disturbance. Ma'am, there is a disturbance in your audio. Just check your net connectivity.
Sure, ma'am. Adding on to his academic credential, he has 2 patents, 4 patent publications, 6 copyrights, written 9 books in business management, including 4 case study books and 3 monographs. He is the editor and editorial member of several international high-impact journals. He has educated faculty members, research scholars, and corporate executives for 25 countries and engaged into research and development and consultancy at national and international level for more than 18 years. He has contributed a lot to academic and corporate services and committed his life to academics, research, corporate development, and institutional building process. Sir, we are indeed delighted to have you as a resource person here, sir. And we are handing over the session to you to share your thoughts on how to write an effective journal. Sir, you have to unmute. Sir, you have
Thank
to.
you. Thank you, Deepaji. And thank you, everyone, specifically Shasun and the principal of Shasun College, Jain College for Women, and everybody in inviting me to be this particular session. And I hope you would be able to see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Correct? Okay, absolutely fine. Now it's pretty clear. So I'm taking around 1.15 hours or some sort of things, little bit here and there it will be going. I'm getting some voice, so microphones can be switched off. I'm getting from voice from the, oh yeah, now it's quite okay. Still, all right, that's good. Thank you so much. So we are going to take up a session connected to writing. Last particular session, I have given you much idea about publications and different types of indexing, different types of rating agencies, corpus, WOS. A lot of things I have discussed in the last session, 1 hour, 1.5 hour session. Today, it's a second program I'm going to do for Shasun, and everybody will be getting an idea about how we can write a proper journal article. And of course, we need to understand one thing specifically connected to writing. Two types of papers possible. They will be easily accepted by the journals. So that type of articles more interested in, and that I'm going to share to you. So every type of article has its own scope connected with journals. Some can be commentaries, some can be case studies, some can be research paper, original research paper, some can be conceptual papers. So different types of papers we can write. But it's all depends on how your article will be fit into that particular journal. Maybe it is coming from Sketch, or it is coming from Willis, or from Emerald, or Elsevier, or Scopus, or Booz. Different types of journals available to you. But always remember one thing. If you want to write a good research paper, the most important aspect is you have to do a good research. So once the research completed, only when you can start a good research paper. So usually journals, specifically journals, we call it as journal, that particular title itself is connected with empirical observations. Usually it is like that, empirical observations. But nowadays it's not restricted to just empirical papers. It's also connected to what you would say conceptual papers, case studies, book reviews, commentaries, different types of articles also you can write it. So our concern, but is more connected to research papers. So today I'm going to share you each section, how you can write it properly. What are the things you have to be taken care of? So if you ask me, what is a research paper? A research paper is the output of a research. So it can be 6 months period, 3 months period, or can be 1 year period, 2 years period. For a PhD research scholar, it can be 3 years period or 4 years period. All right. So output of that particular research is coming into research papers. So they are called as original papers, original research papers, and likewise. So the purpose of research papers are to integrate the experiments you have conducted, the surveys you have incorporated, the interviews you have done, or questionnaires applied, analysis connected with the measurement models and structural models. All these things you have to integrate. Then only that particular type of papers can be considered as what you would say a research paper. So one thing must in research paper, you have to collect data, you have to analyze data, and you have to interpret the data. These are the three things, important things. So in order to do these things, you need to have experiments. You have to conduct experiments. So research papers are based on analysis and interpretation of the data. Always remember. So this makes much difference with other type of papers you can write on. A case study. Of course, case studies also require a kind of methodological approach and the philosophical dimensions like functional realism or critical realism and likewise, but not going very deep into that. Let us have today a basic understanding about a research paper and each section connected to that. So I told you, it consists of all these aspects. So journals are keenly looking upon experimental data, survey data, interview-based data, questionnaire-based data, and that should be run through a process. So most important aspect, data collection, data analysis, and data interpretation. So when a particular, what kind of papers we consider as an original article? People usually, what is this originality, original article, and likewise. So people used to have this confusion. Let me clarify that one first. An original article, it should be written by the researchers, maybe one researcher or 2, 3, 4 collectively, and they should conduct that research in a particular location with a particular sample size, with a particular type of methodology, with type of designs, and do the analysis portion, come up with proper observations and interpretation. They should be having a clear-cut purpose, and that purpose is reflected in the form of research questions. And that research questions are well connected to the method So based on the research questions, your methodology changing. It can be qualitative research, it can be quantitative research, or it can be mixed method research, anything possible. But depends upon how are you asking this question. You can ask in a qualitative way. That will be leading to a description or interpretation. The purpose of such kind of study is not making too much of complicated statistical analysis and likewise. Their purpose is to just understand what is happening, get that information through interpretation. That's all. But not that the case of a quantitative research. We need to collect data systematically in a rigid, structured form. And after that, we have to represent it. All right. And that particular time, you have to follow strictly the structure specified by specific type of research papers. All right. And it is varied from journals to journals. So purpose to be there, methods to be connected, findings are coming, that findings are properly interpreted with the support of past research findings and your findings, you corroborate it, and you talk about if you don't follow these kind of suggestions that based on my observations, companies are going to reduce their profit volume. Market share will be going down. The financial status of the company will be affected, or internal process of the company will be affected. Market will be losing away, competitors having that in. So you're talking about the consequences. From where the consequences are coming? These consequences called as implications. The consequence of the findings that you are exactly putting into the paper. So it can be practical implications, practical consequences. It can be managerial consequences connected with the decision making of the managers. It can be connected with the theoretical implications, like how you have incorporated the recent advances into your paper, knowledge advancement, theoretical implications, any new method you have invented or a kind of integration you have made, methodological implications. You're trying to tell to the world that this technology is much ahead than in comparison with one, and I empirically prove that this is having much efficiency or effectiveness. Technological implications. So you're talking to company people, you're talking to the stakeholders. So that is exactly connected to the implication. So if a research doesn't have implication, chances of rejection of that particular paper will be very high. And certain things required in that paper, that's I'm going to discuss you, journal writing. And if you want more of a lot of things, the tools and like extreme tools and likewise, I'm not sure I can be able to touch this because it's another 1.5 hour session. So this particular time, I'll be orienting you towards writing a good research paper. All right. So these aspects are very important. If that is there, we call it as original research article. Original research article. So let us have an idea about what is this. Just have a pictorial interpretation. So usually that particular, research paper should have proper title, and they do have the author's description, where they are coming. And always remember one thing. All the participants sitting over here, please enroll into ResearchGate through your official ID, and in Google Scholar also you try to get your identity. You also have to get ORCID number. We call it ORCID number. That particular number also needed. Nowadays, articles when you are sending to particular journal, that people will be asking, what is your ORCID number? What is your Scopus ID? Something. Then it will be easier for you people to distinguish. So always try to catch up with that particular number. And you need to have an abstract. You need to have keywords. You need to have proper introduction, methods you have used, results you have arrived at, discussions and conclusions you have integrated, and finally, the references. What type of references you are exactly following? You don't have basically any right to follow any type of referencing. For that, you need to look at the journal website and look at their guidelines, whether the journal of Emerald following APA or Harvard or Chicago or MLA or IEEE, what type of referencing pattern they are following. But don't think that these references are only at the end. No, these references pattern guideline, take an example, APA guidelines, American Psychological Association. You need to start from the title to the reference. All the areas you need to follow that particular type of referencing style. It's not just references you have. I'm not seeing there also you're fixing it properly. So start from the title. How much words I can use in a title? How much words I can use in an abstract? How many words I have to use in the keywords? What should be an introduction, the way of writing an introduction? How I can represent my issue to the readers? And what methods and methodologies I am following? I want to tell that this is the best method any researcher can use to get a proper information from the ground. And what results I'm getting after analysis and the past research findings, you might have done a lot of literature review and that built up your knowledge to get into this research. How much your findings are connected to that findings, past findings, how much it is deviated from the past findings. These are the things to be discussed, deliberated. And that portion should be effective. If you're not doing that portion, you're not a good researcher. The art of research writing is coming. We are evaluating you majorly on your discussion part. This is coming from you. And then coming to the implications and this is the structure of a research paper. So these type of papers you can write. This is the structure of it. And every portion I'm going to discuss with you. So you should be completely listened on that. And all the mistakes you can clearly avoid it next time when you write it. So another type of paper which is called as review paper or conceptual paper. You don't have to do any kind of methodological integration, no needed. But same situation you have to follow. Research questions all needed, what you are trying to explore. This review type of questions or literature review based questions or conceptual type of questions you are going to address, that particular time you can follow systematic literature review. You can follow content analysis. You can follow audios and videos, anything, no problem. You can follow all the theories, but don't do any kind of analysis. Analysis is possible in quantity with the support of statistics, but review papers don't have that capacity to apply any kind of analysis. Possible only in qualitative research. In qualitative research, you can do coding, categorizing, and theme building. That's the thing expected by, that are the things expected by the research reviewers. Did you do that or not? Other case, quantity, that one explained to you, research papers, they expect, did you do properly the analytical portion with the support of statistics? So in the case of coding, categorizing, and theme building, in the case of quantity, you have to do quantitative methods. That's only the difference. So review papers are also fully accepted. I wrote many papers recently. This year, around 10 papers are coming in Scopus, almost in the final revision, fourth revision, third revision, it is going on. Telling you I'm not also perfect. I have to write it. Many times the reviewers, their suggestions, if I feel that to be integrated, I am ready to integrate that. I don't have any ego because my paper going to be improved every day. Every reviewer is coming, making it a certain level that I couldn't imagine when I was writing. So why I should have the ego? I don't have. And they're supporting me. And any kind of criticism which are coming from the reviewers, you need to take it passionately rather than critic, oh my God, somebody has criticized me. No. If you want to really grow, get the criticisms a lot. That particular time we think about, oh my God, this I didn't do it properly. Let me think about it. Let me correct it and send it back. All right. So always have that open-mindedness. So two type of papers. That's all I am discussing. But here, my thrust area will be going towards more into review papers. Review papers consist of the narrative, basically. Systematic review. You are getting, take an example, when you go to the recent articles connected with conceptual papers, there you are only looking 2020, 2021 papers. Don't go beyond that. Of course, if you require any comparative analysis on the past literature, of course, possible. Otherwise, what exactly you are doing, you are reviewing the progression of concepts, sub-concepts, progression of theories, and the components of theories. All these things are part of this review paper. All right. So understanding, it's the most important thing. You can also look at some sort of meta-synthesis or meta-analysis. Look at what is meta-analysis. Meta-analysis compares and combines the findings of previously observed, what you would say, analysis. You are getting, take an example, when you get a research paper, you're going to the analysis section and findings. You take all those findings, and that analysis on findings of the past research scholars, we call it as meta-analysis. Only that portion. So then you are arriving at what kind of variations observed among the past findings and what exactly they missed out and what exactly the things to be observed in the future. So these kind of papers we call completely creative, and you are looking upon the weaknesses of the past literature. You're not appreciating anybody. You're depreciating that these findings come with this population size is not sufficient enough to establish it. So this kind of analysis, these kind of things, you should be very carefully analyzed. So each section you are looking upon the weaknesses and you are telling this way, arriving at this kind of concepts not good enough to interpret in this form of definitions. So these definitions to be once again re-looked into. So the next researchers, when they read your paper, when they look at it, they consider, yes, maybe your arguments are quite good. So that is leading to different pathways, and the young generation can look into that. So these are all, what you would say, insight giving papers, So these papers also you can consider. All right, two types. I told you this will consist of narrative reviews. It consists of systematic review researches, and it also consists of meta-analysis or meta-synthesis. So two types of research papers, keep in mind. But first question you have to write yourself is, are you ready to publish now? Does the findings are exciting? Does the perspectives have changed? Or does I'm giving a kind of new method, some sort of innovation, some sort of novelty in that paper? Or it's not just cut and paste and telling that I did the literature review properly. No, it's not like literature review is, of course, definitions, you can take it. Other than that, it should be corroborated and cross-validated. Why that particular type of literature turned to be redundant in 2022? That cannot be followed. What are the changes happening? So basically, look at that lacunas, weaknesses of the papers. This is most important. So any outdated work coming up, it won't be accepted. Any incorrect conclusions based on your past findings, 1990s, 1996, 2000, and like this is not accepted now, because the concept changed progressively. And duplication of the works, not at all. Is it a kind of, my paper is a duplication of the work coming up? My paper doesn't have any proper conclusions or incorrect conclusions. My paper does have outdated literature. Think about it. So that kind of things, outdated work, incorrect conclusions, and duplication of the works, all we call not ready for publication. Not ready for publication. But what are the things then ready for publication? Original research results based on the contemporary research questions. Is that in your paper or not? Significant enhancement of published work. When it's already existing works available, have you facilitated advancement of that literature? The latest theories, the latest conceptual models, the latest abstract phenomena, the latest authors' comments on certain kind of, have you incorporated all these things? The latest one, 2022. So up-to-date review of a subject field. Yes.
The slide is not moving to the next.
It's not moving. It will be moving slowly, Deepa. Sure, it will be happening. So this is most important aspect coming into the picture. So I'll be showing you that. Now it's okay? Is it moving now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So what is the difference between this not ready to ready? So you need to understand this one properly. Outdated work, incorrect conclusions, wrong analysis, or analysis is spurious, and duplication. All these are not ready to publish. Still, you can take time, because automatically it will be coming as a review for you, R1. or R2 or R3. 3 times it will be going for that. Why don't you do it now itself, though? So why you have to tell somebody? You'll be telling you are waiting for somebody to tell you to correct all these things. If you go with the right research databases like Scopus, WO, Science Direct, Willy, all these publishers like Willy, Sage, and Emerald, Elsevier's, all these people, you'll be getting the right journals exactly. Your university should have that. Then only the chances of rejections can be going down. So this is one thing you need to look at it. And now this is the first stage, just have an assessment. Second stage, the process of writing research articles. This is important to you. I'm going to for each section. Before that, I'm giving you a little introduction. What are the things required? I just discussed with you: title, abstracts, keywords, conclusion, introduction, methods, results, discussions, figures, tables. So how you can start first when you write it, when you complete a research, don't write the introduction, don't write the conclusion, don't write the methods, all these things first. First, you have to incorporate the tables. How the progression happening? Let me show you this process of writing. You have to, what are the tables which can give you? What are the tables which can give you much appealing effect for the readers? What are the tables? What are the figures? What are the charts? What are the pie charts or anything? That you identify first. That should not be in the last. Should identify in the first. These are the things I'm going to incorporate. Now you look at what are the methods you can write. You have to, these are the things an editor or the reviewer is looking upon. What are the displays, illustrations, which is exciting the readers, and the methods you have incorporated, the results you have incorporated, and then discussion. This is the second stage of writing. Everybody start writing title, abstract, introduction, review. This is the pattern they follow. Don't do that. Because literature review, when you write, maximum plagiarism is coming from there. Maximum plagiarism is coming from there exactly. Theoretical underpinning, hypothesis-based literature, concepts and sub-concepts in your writing, you cannot change too much. How much you can paraphrase? It's tough for you. So these are the things directly coming from your original paper, research. Less plagiarism. And it's completely 90-95% is your product. Okay. Then going towards conclusion, then going towards introduction. And 3 patterns are closely related. Abstract, conclusion, and introduction are closely connected aspects. Once you complete the full research only, you can start thinking of writing an abstract. Don't write the abstract first. You cannot write it because you don't have any idea about method, results, discussions, and how you can write the methods. I'll tell you how to write a proper abstract also. So the pattern we are following is this way. Figures and tables first, methods, results, discussion second, conclusions and introduction later, and then fix. Based on these content, you try to pitch a right title. What type of title? That also I'm going to explain to you. What kind of abstract I can write? What are the things to be there? Purpose, methods, results, and implications. How I can write a beautiful abstract. What are the keywords that is linking to each paragraph in that particular research paper? So that also to be looked into consideration. So that is exactly connecting to a good, you can see here, process of writing. So what are the things? Basically, I told you, title, abstract, keywords, introduction, methods, results, discussion. And one thing I missed here is implication. That is there, that please add it. Implications, conclusions, acknowledgement, any limitations you have, that also put it. Any future scope of the study, that also you put it. References and supporting materials. I hope you have got a clear-cut idea about how to write a research paper now. Start with a beautiful title. I'll tell you how to write it. That is the next portion coming up. And I'll be telling you how to write an abstract, how to write keywords, how to write introduction, how to write methods, how to write results and discussion sections properly, how to write implications, and what kind of conclusion or what pattern of conclusions you can follow, and then connect it to limitations and future scope of the study. Acknowledge, if you want to acknowledge, that also to be very careful. That also to be very careful. Once I have sent a paper to International Journal of tourism review or something in tourism management in US. So that is Q1 journal, high impact journal. In the last portion of the paper, I just wrote it only one thing. We are obliged to the sponsorship of. We are very thankful to this sponsorship of this particular university and this particular university. We never exposed our names because you know that it's a blind review process. You are not supposed to add your name anywhere in the paper. So we just wrote only the university name, to university name, because they sponsored us. That itself created at the time of a problem for review. They rejected, desk rejection has come up because they can go to this university and check who are the people exactly published in Q1 journals for the past few years, and they can identify you in your department. So please avoid this one. If you don't want to write all these things, you can write it later after the review. But before the review, don't write it. References and supporting. So now I'm going to tell you how to write a beautiful title. This is the first question. So let us have an idea about how to write basically an amazing and attractive title. All right, a lot of ways available. I have referred around Hartley's book, in which around 2008, I think, so that particular article published around 13 types of what you would say, different types of titles you can write on the title. But the most common one, only three. So I'm going to tell you that one basically. All right. So among which it will be served. All your papers will be served on that. But very complicated analytical level, and likewise we are making a different types. But usually it will be into the 3 types, and it is accepted by many research scholars. The first one is called as declarative title. Declarative title. Second one is called as descriptive title. Declarative, descriptive. And the third one is called as interrogative. There are three types of titles available. So first one is declarative, means that you are declaring the findings in the title itself. Okay, cigarette smoking leading to cancer. You're declared already. You're declared COVID-19 leading to death. It's all happening, and it is clear. Your findings, you are approving and declaring that this is happening. All right, a positive culture leading to high productivity. You declared already. All right, integrated marketing communication can lead to business performance. So you're declaring that. So that type of writing you can do. Second, descriptive. You're not declaring any title. You're not supposed to declare the title over there. You just state it as it is. Usually in PhD theses and likewise, we are following descriptive titles exactly. The influence of, the effect of, the correlation between. So these kind of words, you can use it. Family support on patients with dementia. Likewise, example you can see over here. All right. But the difference between these two and with interrogative is interrogation, police integration, court they are questioning you. They're poking you exactly. So whom you are poking, basically, the reviewers, the editors, and the readers. These are the three people you are trying to poke. But what editors and reviewers looking upon, how are you poking? Is that poking can create more inquisitiveness among the readers to read your article? What they want, basically, what the editors and the publishers want, your paper should be read by thousands of people. They should download from the website with the payment, and you should read it, and you should cite some of the authors. This is the thing they are expecting. But if you don't create a kind of inquisitiveness, the closing, the hidden knowledge in the paper, it won't be happening. So when you read an article, when you read or when you write an article, most important thing is, does my paper create any kind of excitement to go deep into this content or not, right? So that we call it as a type of inquisitiveness. So interrogation, sometimes you have to ask question. Does cognitive training improve the performance pattern on pattern recognition tasks? Does green marketing influence the business performance? Does positive work culture, strong work culture, create productivity? So you can ask questions to the readers. That also. So these are the three types of titles, declarative title, descriptive title, or interrogative. Depends upon you to choose it. But always remember, when you choose it also, I told you, you don't have many times the right to do that. Some reviewers like this poking type of title. Some reviewers may not be. Some reviewers may not be. So depend, you go to that particular journal and see the past volumes and check that article, how they have posed the title. How they have posted, how the past researchers have posted title in that particular journal. Based on that, you can follow. All right. So each of these three types of use is useful, and you should choose a format depending upon what kind of information you want to convey. So declarative titles are generally used in research articles. They convey the largest amount of information. Usually, smoking leads to cancer, the kind of things, I told you, declaration. You're making that. A higher entrepreneurial orientation leading to entrepreneurial intention. Like these kind of things are declaration exactly. And they're also good if you want to emphasize the technical side of, because you are talking about analytical portion, the methodology integrations and likewise. But interrogative titles usually, that's for a review of literature articles. You are talking about so many literature available in the past. Does that literature is sufficient enough to explain the same concept in 2022 or not? Take an example, business operating models. The business operating models which are existing till up to 2019 September, before COVID, all these are still to be useful for the business leaders in 2022. Still the COVID impact is going on. A lot of business models turn to be redundant. They're going, these applications of AI, ML, DL, all these things are happening. So the same operating model which they have followed in the offline is ready to follow in online or not. Can we switch over from offline to online, all the marketing decisions? So some sort of things, the literature tells you that, the past literature tell you that, okay, follow this decision. But the problem is that the COVID-19 has totally shattered. Hence, you are asking to the readers, does that kind of theoretical model, does a kind of operating models is sufficient enough to explain the COVID impact in the market? You can ask it, interrogation. All right. So avoid, most important thing, avoid too big titles. Reviewers won't like it. Editors won't like it. You should not write too many big. So maximum words allowed in a title as per APA. The recent one also I have evaluated 2021. It is 12 words. Still it is 12 words. Even can, be, is, to, remember, as, Jamali, Nixad, and all these words are countable. Every space, next word is coming, it's countable. So don't write any article more than 12 words in a title. So longer titles are so confusing to the readers also. So longer titles, if you put it, readers' readability and their patience to go inside lesser in comparison with short articles. So always follow short titles with 12 words maximum as per APA. So the primary function, what is the function of this title? Of course, you have to keep it brief, keep it attractive, and keep it simple. Don't use flowery language. If you are a communicative English faculty, it's good you use it, but that's not required. It's not pleasure. It's your pleasure is most important thing for the research readers. Can I understand as a reader, can I understand your title properly or not? The flow and the phrases you use is digestible, is understandable to the readers or not. That's what we are looking upon as reviewer. So the primary function of a title to provide a precise summary of what the paper all about. The entire 30 page you have written, what it's all about. I need to know it in one single statement with the 12 words. So keep the title always simple, always brief, and always attractive. And always use active verbs exactly. And 10 to 12 words, reasonable. And a lengthy title may seem unfocused. And it will move away the reader's attention on your paper. They don't download it. They don't pay the money to the... So citations won't be coming up. Only you can read the abstract. So it will be unfocused. So we have to look at that. So avoid abbreviations. And second factor is avoid these, certain words the common readers cannot understand, like AIDS, AIDS, NATO, these kind of words, GATT, WTO. A lot of words, if they know, okay, but if they don't know, it creates a lot of confusion. So abbreviations and jargons, we don't entertain in the paper title specifically. So for specific abbreviations, which are continuously followed by the entire journal world and the readers can understand, okay, use it. But if not, don't left out the readers to understand. Look at a dictionary or look at the options other than that, what you are telling, and then look, this is not the way to do it. All right, so avoid abbreviations and jargons. Another aspect, so it should not left to the readers to fix it. All right, so these are the things you have to clearly look into the title. So 3 types of title: declarative, descriptive, as well as interrogative, where I can use that, I told you, and maximum words 12 words. If it is too short and attractive, it's so appealing to the reviewers. Now, how to write an abstract is the second portion. This is the first portion is title. Second is abstract. How to write an abstract, basically. It consists of basically this. Once you complete the entire paper, only you can write properly what all inside this paper. So usually the Scopus, the WOS, or good journals, they're business people. They don't give you freely everything. You have to purchase it, or else your university has to subscribe it. So the most important aspect is you need to tell everything what you have done in that abstract. Maximum can be 200 words, 200 to 250 words. So the function of this particular abstract is to introduce the topic to the readers, write the research methods properly. This method I'm going to follow, or I have followed, right? Like quali or quanti or mixed method. What are the results I got it? What are the discussions I can? So the most important aspect, the functions of an abstract is writing, introducing the entire paper content to this particular reader or the readers, total readers. So introduction is introducing the topic, state the purpose of that, and the methods used. What methods you have used? Is it quali? Is it quanti? Within mixed method itself, in mixed method, did you follow sequential explanatory or anything, right? So the most important aspect, look at the function of abstract. You are trying to fix certain aspects. Don't write other than maximum 200 words. Don't write more than that. All right. So key quantitative results. What are the research? What is the purpose of this particular research? And what kind of analysis and the method and analysis you have followed, and what kind of results you have obtained. Identify the trends or relative changes that you have to mention. So finally, it is going towards interpretation and conclusion. These are the contents required. So with which we need to look at the possibility of excitement. By just reading the abstract, you need to get a proper excitement among them. So here, you have to look at 4 aspects. I told you, 1, introduce the topic to the readers, and what is the need of that study, explain that. Look at the possibility of incorporation of the purpose and methods. What method, why you have done it, objective, and what method you have followed. Followed by that, what kind of results you have, analysis and results you have obtained, and what kind of implications of this particular research to certain type of stakeholders. If that is, you are writing in maximum 200 words in a fan mode. But certain things you have to be very careful, very careful. What are the things to be there? What is the style of an abstract? You have to write always active voice, wherever possible. But sometimes that is okay. If it is absolutely necessary, only you are supposed to use passive constructions. And it should be complete never make use of, what you would say, never make use of any kind of abbreviations or any kind of, what you would say, author's name inside the abstract. No author's name, no year of publications, no results with the t-test correlation. You can write correlation, these are the analysis, but don't put any findings in the form of numbers in the abstract. Use always past tense, maximum. I'm just adding 100 also. Usually it will be 200 to 250 words. So abstract should not contain lengthy background. Don't write like introduction in the abstract, don't write it. Lengthy background information not allowed. References inside. References only should be in the literature portion or some other portions of the research paper, that particular portion alone. And elliptical, don't put ... and then the rest of the thing should be completed by the readers. No, it should not do that. Incomplete sentences should not be there. Complete every sentence. Abbreviations should not be there. GART, what you would say, WTO or any kind of AIDS or AICTE, all these things, something which is so common and people can easily grab it, it's okay, but otherwise don't use it, okay? So any sort of illustrations, graphs or figures or tables or references, avoid it in the abstract. So the style of abstract, that abstract should be strictly followed, maximum 200 words. And after that, you need to put the keywords. So every paragraph inside the research paper, look at it. Which term is coming? And that term turned to be in your title as well as the title, the keywords are closely linked. So if you want to get more citations, that kind of keywords to be there to be inside your paper. And people usually Google and like a search. Google is not a database. Google is a search engine. So you try to put the word, I want to get organizational commitment, I want to get productivity, I want to get econometrics, some sort of words when you are using, that papers will be coming very fast. So you should be very clear what kind of words are so searched by the readers and the investigators or researchers that to be there. Got it. So this is the first task of you. Based on that, maximum you can have around maybe 2 to 3 or 4 or 5. That you can select the best which is connected with the variables. Independent variable, dependent variable, moderating variable, mediating variable, control variable, or the sector, SME, sector, or the theory of planned behavior. Likewise, you can integrate it because people search through theories. People search through sectors, sectoral studies. People search through variables. So don't forget this one, right? Now, I have explained to you title. I have explained to you abstract. Now I'm going to make you understand how to write an introduction. When you have to write introduction, use your past tense. All right, organize all your ideas and minimum. When it's not like one paragraph, you have to write 1, 2, 3, 4, maximum 4 paragraphs you can add it. The section of introduction is not just one paragraph. You need to write it properly. So the most important aspect is ensure that you start with introduction of the topic and to come up with the relevance of that particular research, now the rationale of the study. So organize your ideas in accordance with that. The minimum 4 papers. So when you write the introduction also, you should be very careful the keywords you have used. The keywords after the abstract, the words you have used, it should be reflected everywhere. It should be reflected in your, what you would say, this introduction also. So title and the keywords, first a few sentences, you should devote that words once again to be obtained in that particular section. You need to stress that these are the terms which are concurrently used by the past research scholars who are accepted. So to get the primary attention and you are explaining that subject matter, without losing your focus, you need to write it these particular words. Sometimes I'm reviewing what you have mentioned in the research question and the variables you have used and what you have exactly concluded, no relation at all. So for example, in an entrepreneurship paper, the word entrepreneurial orientation and intention would likely to appear within the first If that is a paper, entrepreneurship, so entrepreneurial orientation, entrepreneurial intention, incubation centers, all these words are clearly to be there in the first paragraphs. So if it is not there, the structure is not meeting. And after introducing these words, the factors connected with your study, the keywords connected to your title, everything in the first paragraph, you introduce the topic, you introduce the factors. Look at the context, which context that particular variable has come out. Why in the Indian context that particular variables have relevant? So the readers are looking upon it. I'm seeing these kind of words everywhere, these kind of variables everywhere. Why it is important to that particular context? For that, you cannot tell anything in the paper. You have to get citations. You have to get the best research scholars. Always remember, you need to get the best 30 experts in that particular entrepreneurship domain in your paper. A reason and the best authors to be there. That's what we are telling. A reason and classical literature. So that people, when you integrate, chances of rejections will be going down. All right. So judgment of what is general and what is specific, you need to clearly add it. So a few statistical document like the proportion of market share or the COVID-19 impact, this much of volume to this much. These are all they can general in the sense. That's not specific. Specific connected to your variables. Independent variable, dependent variable, control variable, or moderating or mediate. These variables you need to focus. Complete focus should be given to the factors you are studying. And those factors which you are not discussing in your research should not be there, because the reviewers ask, why have you incorporated this variable which doesn't have any relevance in your study and you have not incorporated for your empirical analysis? You got it? So careful the context and the kind of factors, getting support from the authors. All right. So when you write an abstract, you should be careful on these 4 paragraphs. Introduce the topic, introduce the purpose, introduce almost abstract like introduction is coming. Little expansion of that abstract is going. The first few lines, till up to analysis. It's all coming into their first introduction portion itself. All right. Take an example, scenario of the study and the problem you are studying, the factors connected with the problem, and the purpose of the study. The purpose of the study. That all you can tell. Why that particular study needed with a gap, with a research gap, a gap you have identified, and why this is exactly needed in that introduction of 4 paragraphs maximum. You can reduce to 2, you can reduce to 3, no problem. Don't make it as 1. Little bit expanded, and it can go up to, if you think that a rich content to be exhibited, displayed, okay, 4 paragraphs maximum. All right, don't write more. So what are the do's and don'ts then when you write an introduction? Consult the guide to the authors for word limit. You need to go to the website and see how much in the introduction I can write. Is it 400 words? Is it 500 words? Is it 250 to 300 words? Limit it, but I can limit you. You write only maximum 4 paragraphs, maximum 3 paragraphs also. Okay. Set the scene. Means that making the readers or the reviewers attracted enough to review your article. Otherwise, oh my God, this I have reviewed so many times. What is new in it? No novelty at all. Got it? So the problem you can look at. So do's, you can write the assumptions. Don't put the hypothesis in introduction. Instead of that, an overall assumption as a researcher you have made that you can incorporate and ensure that the literature cited is balanced, up to date and relevant. A reason 1, 2020, 2021, 2022. Because when it goes for review, it takes around 6 months period, in the sense that certain literature tend to be outdated, the years based. It will be outdated. So you should be careful. 2022, 2021, maximum 2021, 2022, you try to bring it down. Chances of rejections based on introduction literature review will be very less. All right. And you have means that you have reviewed proper literature to arrive at your problem. All right. So define any non-standard abbreviations, jargons, and likewise. Non-standard abbreviations that to be completely defined. First, when you introduce, take an example, you have even authors I'm talking about APA style. Any author, first time you are introducing to your research paper, you have to write all the author's name. You cannot write at all. You cannot write at all. You have to write all the authors first time. But the same authors, another quotation or findings coming up, you don't have to write the all authors name. Only one first author and then put it space al dot and comma. So you need to understand the way of writing the content itself. So any non-standard abbreviations that you can and jargons, please try to. I always against this. But the don'ts, write an extensive review in introductory part. Don't do that. There is a portion review of literature. Go to that particular portion and write it down. Cite disproportionately your own work. You are integrating your own work and the citation. That's not, it's called self-citations. We don't appreciate self-pricing too much. We don't appreciate. So try to reduce it. Work of colleagues or work that support your findings. Don't look at it. What we need is arguments, the weaknesses. So don't try to pull, your idea is there. Don't try to pull all other authors to accept your ideas. It's not like that. You need to get inconsistencies, contradictions, conflicts, deliberations, discussions that never lead you to any conclusion, perfect conclusion. If you get all conclusion, what is the need of research? No research needed. So wherever there is inconsistency of findings, somebody told yes, somebody told no, somebody told they become silent. So these kind of variations of observations made, there exactly we can pitch our research topic. Got it? So describe the methods, results, don't do that. Don't do that in your introduction portion. Got it? But you can do it in abstract. That is the difference between abstract and introduction. In introduction, you can tell, you can have introduction of your topic, introduction of your challenges, introduction of your problem, introduction of the factors you are incorporated IVDV, no problem. Introduction of the context and introduction of the purpose of your research. It's okay. Don't write declaration of your findings, methods, results, conclusions. No, don't write it. Okay. So overuse the term novel for the first time. All these things you can avoid. So these are the things I'm going to tell you about how when you write a journal, outline the structure of the journals is to be followed strictly. Okay. So next portion is connect. Now I told you title, introduction, abstract, title, abstract, keywords, introduction. I explained. Now connecting to literature review. What are the things to be focused in literature review? So here you have to look at the entire literature review. This is the portions where you will be getting maximum plagiarism. Maximum plagiarism is coming up. So you need to look at maximum paraphrasing possibilities, except definitions. Anything come in between the quotations, definitions, you cannot change it. You cannot change it. Rest of the things, any findings you are telling, any connections between IVDV you are telling, okay, all okay. The concepts when you define many times. So always remember, that's what I suggested you. Do the literature review last. Rest of the portions you fix it because you already have a full thesis before you. All right, that is original in nature. The other one is not original, so you have to. So concepts you can write, sub-concepts connect. Take an example, entrepreneurial orientation. You are writing a concept that is IV in your research frame. So how I can define entrepreneurial orientation? Through risk taking, through openness, through market orientation, through competitive aggressiveness, through confrontation, through mean end orientation. These are all sub-concept of market. That means entrepreneurial orientation, that you can write it down. With the authors coming from recent literature, 2022, 2021, that should be kept. And hypothesis-based literature means that you have hypothesis post. Some people, first hypothesis, don't post hypothesis in literature. Or what you have to do, you write the literature and then post the hypothesis. What is the literature? Hypothesis-based literature. That literature will take an example, entrepreneurial orientation and entrepreneurial intention. You are trying to relate these two. So entrepreneurial orientation is the independent variable and entrepreneurial intention is the dependent variable. So some people, they are coming from Australia. They supported the relationship between IV and TV. Some people don't. So you got a contradictory finding. You got contradictory viewpoints. You got contradictory perspectives and findings and observations coming from different authors. That is the beauty of your research. If you don't get it, you cannot make any argument and you cannot compel any jury. This is the original one. There is a gap in it. There is a knowledge gap in it. There is a literature gap because the findings are uncertain. The findings are inconclusive. The findings, we cannot arrive at a proper conclusion because people have different findings. Got it? So if that's not there, you cannot pass it. So as a reviewer, I am looking upon how inconsistent literature has been incorporated by the author inside this particular paragraph. And then post, this is my, hence because of this inconsistencies, inconclusivity, I am posing this hypothesis. Likewise, if you have 5 hypotheses, post literature, arrive at post literature, connected that particular variable, arrive at hypothesis. Likewise, this is called hypothesis-based literature. All right. Then, how many theories are available connected with the topics you have selected? How many theories are connected? And best theory you can follow and why that theory you are using. Certain type of theories, lot of theories available. My question, it's not like that. Why that particular theory integrate or how that particular theory integrate that particular factors you have selected for the study logically. If this is the theory, I can fix my variable selected on the top of it. It's perfectly supporting that particular theory. So whether that particular theory having any stand in your research or not, I'll look on that. And finally, the gaps. So what are the things to be looked into? In the literature review, what I am as a reviewer looking upon, what do we already know? What are the characteristics of the key concepts you have exactly incorporated? What's the relationship between these key concepts, factors, variables? And what are the complementary and existing theories you have incorporated into that particular 2 to 3 page of your paper? And where there inconsistencies means that contradictions, there is strong relationship between IV and DV, positive. There is no relationship between IV and DV. There is insignificant relationship between IV and DV. There is negative relationship between IV and DV. All inconsistencies of the past literature. Can you bring it down or not? If not, you are leading all the authors to your own viewpoint and you want to pose this hypothesis. This is wrong. This is wrong, and they may reject you. So what views need to be further tested? Why that view need to be further tested? This is exactly the question. And what evidence, what are the evidence lacking or inconclusive or contradictory to be there? That is the attractive point, exciting point. Got it? And why that particular research problem to be studied now, contemporarily? Why that problem to be studied? Is it relevant or not? Or already studied by many research scholars or not? What contribution can I do it? And what research designs and methods I can incorporate? The methods which I have incorporated, the designs which I have, is it good enough to take an example, some topics to be studied through qualitative research, and you have incorporated into quantitative way, and it's absolutely difficult to move on. Can you build up that particular literature review like that? We need to check it properly. We need to check it. So this particular section consists of different types of contents like concepts, subconcepts, hypothesis-based literature, theoretical underpinnings, and this is the major portion where you can get maximum plagiarism. Because you are reading and you are incorporating. So usually, if you take 3 or more words directly from a sentence, it's going to be directly mentioned as a similarity index. Or even when you cite, also no use at all. All right. So you should be very careful on incorporating. So always remember a bad literature. What is a bad literature review? This bad literature review summarizes what they do. These writers are doing summary of the previous research answers and questions. This is not literature review. A bad literature review is going up like that and does not answer any research questions that you have posed. You have a research questions, based on that all literature review should happen. It's not happening. It does not evaluate or summarize research and does not show any relationship between the theories. Most important thing in quantitative research, how that particular variables which you have selected is linked to a particular theory. You cannot show that, means that's a bad literature. and listing the authors present using chronological orders instead of organizing using research key concepts and theories. And it's not the way to do that. So always remember the bad literature review contents. You should not follow these patterns. You should not just listing the, you can see that one word and thousands of authors in the full paragraph. Don't do that. Which authors can definitely support you? Recent literature. That please inquire. You don't have to write 10 to 15 authors and years inside the literature. You're just wasting the space. No need to do that. A few sufficient to get the support from the past research scholars. Don't write too much. So these kind of things, please try to avoid. But a good literature review, they usually group the similar information and the relationship between contemporary works, classical works, and likewise, and they organized well based on the ideas that exactly you are posing. So we need to have a proper literature review. It consists of proper purpose, research problem, all references are properly cited, establish the relationship with different works and your own, as well as everything 102 okay. And in that particular portion, every day you have to write and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. Rephrasing and paraphrasing completely needed in this particular, because this is the portions with which you will be getting maximum plagiarism. So after this section, so I told you title, abstract, keywords, introduction, literature review, 5 portions I have explained. We are reaching to the middle of the portion. Now you have to pose the research questions. This is a section, next section, you have to pose clearly the research question. The research questions are the major aspect reviewers are looking upon. The specificity of the variable selected, originality and the novelty connected with the questions you are exactly posing to the readers, and general relevance to the board of scientific community. That particular question you are asking related to COVID and related to market share changes, related to the online platforms, or anything you are asking, is it really a kind of question that need to be addressed by the stakeholders, and they're not getting proper answers because they have not done any proper investigation. They don't have a data, they don't have literature to prove that. So that research question should have specificity, complete specificity, originality, novelty, and general. So only one main research question should be addressed. Usually it is like that, but it doesn't matter. You can have 1 or 2 or 3, depending upon the comp. Take an example. Some variables you can directly relate to the dependent variable. So all those variable IVs can be simply connected to the DV. One hypothesis, so one research question is sufficient. But if some variables are moderator, some variables are mediator, you cannot pose everything in a single question. So one question is for moderation and another question is for mediation needed. Got it? So one direct relationship and the other 2 indirect relationship you can pose. So usually the research questions will be lesser in number. Usually the research questions will be very less in number. So the most important aspect is you need to stimulate what you would say the readers to think of download your paper, and likewise that is most important. So steps, what are the steps you can formulate in what you would say research questions? You can look at, first, make a list of keywords associated with your area of interest. This is the first task of writing. All right. For example, if you're interested in online education programs, some of your keywords might be online degrees, online schools, online universities, distance. All these keywords are the major task you have waiting for you. And after this is called as, in qualitative research, we call it as word cloud. It's a cloud, complete cloud, a pictorial representation will be getting. So some words are very big, some words are very small. Likewise, a cloud pattern in qualitative research getting. So there you can understand the big words are the words which are frequently used by the past research scholars. We can understand these words are commonly discussed by current and past research scholars. Hence, because that term is still relevant contemporarily, we can understand that. And that term should be used by you, rather than the words which are not used by many research scholars, because it will stop you from getting citation, or it will stop you to get a kind of, what you would say, a close discussions, possibilities of close discussions, possibilities of getting the right research scholars. This will be dropped upon. So you need to look at the next step is, you look at databases like ProQuest, Web of Knowledge, or WorldCat, EBSCO, all these, you can get a lot of they are publishing keywords and abstracts. So don't worry, you will be getting that. This is the way you have to fetch. Before, take an example, gel classification is there. So some journals, recently I wrote a journal that is IT Economy from Indonesia. They asked, once the second review come up, they asked, please put gel classification of the keywords. So each keyword, you have to go to gel classification. It is available in internet. Look at, okay, my paper is connected with the technology. Look at, down, technology. There is a title. Okay, oh, this is technology adoption. Oh, this word is connected with gel classification, J, this number, or JET, or OEC. Likewise, some classification. That is most important thing. If that classification is coming up, the chances of acceptance going up. Got it? So step 2 is like step 3. Scan the most recent published article to get a sense of their content. Read more closely the discussion in this section, and the researchers typically reveal avenues for the future research, that particular keywords to be focused. So step number 4 is choose one of the avenues for future research described, and based on your decision, primarily on the idea that suitability for your qualitative research or if it is a qualitative research, you can use the terms like to explore, to describe, to experience, to explain. These words only used, if you want to put it in objective, these are the only words to be used in qualitative research. Exploration, leading to interpretation. Description, leading to interpretation. Experience, leading to description and interpretation. Explanation, leading to description, and everything is ending up with interpretation. So you have to ask either how or what. How or what as research questions in qualitative research. But in quanti, you have to use, you cannot use these words. To explore, no, you can use to analyze, to examine, to evaluate. All right, these words are clearly used in quanti. But the time when you are using the research question, please take care of these factors. All right, objective when you pose, does any significant relationship exist between IT and productivity, or does any relationship exist between COVID-19 and market sales or sales performance? Likewise, what kind of relationship exists with these kind of things you can ask, but don't ask how. How is descriptive. Scope of how is description and interpretation, but the scope of why. Why means that causation. Causation indicate a relationship between IV and DV. So that to be explained only through quantitative way. Got it? Causation to be established through statistics, but interpretation to be established through experiences or explorations and likewise. So please be careful. Don't use how and what in quanti. Use in quali, but you can use does any significant relationship exist between, or do these factors related to, does any correlation exist between green marketing and purchase consumption behavior? These kind of things you can ask. So remember, when you pose research questions, you should be very careful. So 3 types of research questions possible: causal, descriptive, and predictive. Causal means the relationship between, take an example, IV and DV. Descriptive, usually connected to qualitative plus little bit quantitative, but predictive is fully quantitative. So you can ask the relationship, does any relationship, does any variations, does any significant difference between these and two? This you can ask. Other than that, you are not supposed to ask. So when you pose research questions also, at the time of writing, we create issues. So please try to avoid. So I have explained to you now, title. I'll be taking a little more time, maybe around 15 to 20 minutes. Be careful on that. So you can plan in accordance with, you can have a coffee or something, maximum 20 minutes, I can clear it off. So these portions are very important and it is helpful for you in writing papers, right? So title, abstract, keywords, then connecting that to introduction, literature review, then it's connected to the research questions. After the research questions, you can pose a conceptual frame and likewise, if you want to, you can do it. If the journal allow you to do that, okay, no problem. Otherwise, you don't have to post any literature. That means the conceptual frames and likewise not required. Now I'm connecting that to with how to write method. This is amazingly important topic with which many papers are rejected. So here you have to mention about the context, about the population, about the designs, about the measurements you are using, about the tools and what kind of reliability of this measurement, all the things exactly. This is one of the major area with which all the papers are rejected. Reason, I have asked one of my friend editor in tourism review, and he told, sir, we were used to accept 85%, sorry, 15%, 85% rejection and 15% acceptance. That particular journal, it's Q2 journal. And you can see that tourism related. But now, when I last year, December, I think 2021, and I said, sir, I have reduced once again because we are getting good, very good papers exactly. So it's very difficult for us to accept and reject. So we enhance the quality of papers to 90% rejection and only 10% is accepting. So you look at the difficulty of writing. This portion is one of the portions with which major rejections are happening. So here you have to explain major functions of this particular section is to talk about what method you are following, why that method is relevant. You are following quali, why quali? You are following quanti, why quanti? You are following what you would say quantitative cross-sectional, why it is not quantitative longitudinal, explain it, why that is useful. So it's not just writing this method, just writing one line and tell I use descriptive method. It's not, we know descriptive method, we know diagnostic, we know experimental, we know, we are experts. Tell us why that particular descriptive study design you have used, why it is accepted, why it is more suitable. That's only, you give the logic. So it's not writing a definition of descriptive study design. I'm using descriptive study just because of these factors, that's sufficient. So logic, we got it. So here this section consists of, first of all, the population. So the design you are following, then connecting that to what you would say, cross-sectional or longitudinal, quantitative or qualitative, all these things you can mention, the design, why it is suitable. And followed by that, you can write about the population. How much population you have determined, total population available. And even though total population, how much you have targeted and how much you have targeted for sample. So the population, how you have arrived at the sample, proper sample. And in order to arrive at that 384 sample size, what design you have selected? Sample design. Is it probabilistic or non-probabilistic? We need to know that logical reasoning. All right. So if that is wrong, we don't even look at the entire paper. We don't look at it. So your sample is wrong already. Sample selection wrong. Sample design is wrong. Design opted is wrong. Why we should read all these things you have incorporated, which doesn't follow the proper research methodology? Got it? So the next portion after this population and sample, you have to look at it basically what you would say, the measurements. What are the measurements? Measurements indicate items plus scale connected with each construct. Each construct, you have taken example, entrepreneurial orientation. How are you going to measure it? I'm going to measure through openness and through basic tolerance, this conflict tolerance, confrontation, competitive aggressive. So my question, if it is all these you are getting from the literature, how did you develop the instrument? Did you go through exploratory factor analysis? Did you go through proper confirmatory factor analysis? Have you gone through PLS if you are using the composite reliability? Have you checked it or not? Show me that. So that should be in a table, and it should be projected inside your method section. So method, population, design, research design, population, sampling, and measurements. I hope you got it. And you need to explain which is the construct, or which are the constructs, who are the authors of each construct, from where I have identified the items, how many number of items, what is the reliability of the items, and which year it is published. Give me, and the reliability of the original instrument. Give me all details. I want to know that, how you measured, how you develop the questionnaire. If I feel that that is wrong, your case gone there itself, complete rejection. You have to do the analysis, or you have to do the data collection once again and do the analysis. So this particular area is very, very, very complicated. Very complicated. So how much, how long, when, all these data connected with your experimentation, we need it. And all the statistical procedures, we need it. So what are the factors we need to look into in the structure of the methods? Describing the methods, explaining the tools you have used, describing the research protocol, how you have followed that, and how many constructs you have in your conceptual frame, and how many measurements you have used in that, whose measurements, how many number of items, what is the validity and reliability, and the composite reliability, and how it has published, where it has published, and likewise, this data please provide us. It's needed for reviewers. Stating the statistical test and likewise is important aspect. So define the population of the research, define the research design, define properly how you have integrated the sampling design to arrive at your sample size, and the power of the sample to arrive at the findings, how you did the instrumentation, adaptation, adoption, or development, the procedures you follow to ensure the research frames are properly evaluated, how are you going to do the analysis properly, the measurement model analysis, which consists of validity and reliability. How did you do that? Phase validity, content validity, construct validity, criterion validity, discriminant validity, convergent validity, all these validities you have ensured. How you get the reliability, Cronbach alpha and composite reliability, how you did it, how you got it, whether the cutoff points are satisfied with the support of the cutoff points coming from Hare, Ringel, Stardust, and likewise some sort of good authors, they have put a cutoff point like Nunali, that is 0.6 and above. Here and likewise, it is coming into a different context of PLS, and likewise they have a different rate. So how it is, this is most important. And then connecting to the limitations of, if you want to write, otherwise you leave it. It will be giving a frank opinion about you. You are independent, you are completely impartial. So this is the section with which we are finishing off our methodology section. You have to write it down. So design, population, sampling, measurements are the major portions we look into. And if you don't get proper idea, we will reject your paper. Write it down. Now coming into results section. This result section is also very important because after measurements, the results is coming into the picture. So the amount and the types of data to be reported, you should be very careful. Continue to concise and using all figures and table there. And another thing, you need to segregate. I may suggest you to follow the hypothesis-based table. Hypothesis-based table. Why? Because structural tables are more important than measurement. Of course, need a little bit measurement table like validity, reliability, and likewise. Other than that, don't incorporate anything in the research paper. You can write the structural paper in structural models and likewise like hypothesis-based literature where the analysis have made that literature and the constructs and likewise that analytical portion we need it. So you need to be very selective in incorporating the table in your paper. Incorporating your table into, so selected tables you can and objectively report that one. So write a result section. That is another aspect. You must clearly distinguish the material that would be included, any kind of all the constructs, all the concepts you have, sub-concepts you have incorporated, and all the information related to the things to be clearly mentioned. And the content of this particular section of result section consists of summarize your findings in the text and illustrate them with figures and table. The difference between figures and when you incorporate figures, the title of the figure should come down. Don't put it on the top. Figures should not have title. It should be down exactly to be explained with citation. All right, where exactly the figure is coming up. But tables, you have to put the title on the top. And you also, this always remember, this should not be misplaced here and there, where exactly I can put the title of figure, where I can put the title of table, and likewise, right? Describe the results of the control experiments, everything you have to do. Put the graph or charts and anything you can do. Illustration and visualizations are supported, clearly supported by editors. And they want it, visualization, because people don't have that patience nowadays to read every line and understand. If they get a visualized data, that's what structural equation modelings and likewise it's going very fast nowadays. People are telling that please use this in comparison with SPSS and likewise. Why? Because it's give your data complete all hypotheses in one conceptual frame, and all the path analysis we are getting and predictability in the R-square level is coming up into the one final independent variable. Everything is clear in the single diagram. You don't have to look at, take an example, SPSS. One hypothesis consists of 3 tables. One is model summary, second is ANOVA, and the third is beta with a T table and likewise. So 3 tables in one hypothesis. Why you have to capture this much of space? Don't do that. Only one diagram on indicating the beta and the R-square sufficient. All paths you can get it and you can easily explain it. So reduce it. And what to be avoided in the results section is that do not discuss or interpret your results. Results should not be interpreted only at the time of findings and interpretation. This just what exactly in the figure that you have to tell it out. That's all. All right. Never include raw data. Completely avoid it. You be selective on that. And do not represent or present the same data one. Take an example, you have a graph. You already informed it. You don't have to write a long paragraph. Just explain a little about the graph. That's sufficient. 1 or 2 line or 3 lines sufficient. Don't do the same kind of things in the same research paper. Text should complement any figures or table. That means if you put a table, don't forget you have to write a paragraph. Don't put a table alone in the paper. Every time you are writing a table, immediately what is in the table to be incorporated down. If a figure is coming up, please incorporate the same thing, a paragraph, a little paragraph. So I'm seeing many articles, you just put the tables and likewise, there is no further explanation of it. Little explanation, not too heavy explanation, large explanation, a little bit too. So this to be taken. So now this is coming the style of writing result section. Use past tense, always use figure 1, figure 2, and likewise, everything to be figured properly. All the figures, figure 1, 2, 3, 4, clearly to be mentioned, properly numbered exactly, properly numbered. Take an example, Emerald. Emerald don't allow you to put the figures inside the research paper. You have to put it backside in the appendix. So some journals are not like that. They will ask you put that thing in the paper itself. So that's what I used to tell the research scholars, please read the guidelines properly. So which research papers they are incorporating the table, which not. In the appendix, you need to be very clear. So if you put the right figures, they can look at back. Okay, table number, this one, refer appendix, and they will go and refer and come back. So it should be, if you don't put it properly, it will be haphazard. It won't be helpful for the readers to do that. So within the text and results section, so figures and each place figures tables within the text of the results, include them in the back of the report. And if you place figures and the tables at the end, clearly distinguished from the attached appendix and materials, and likewise, regardless of the placement, each figures must be numbered consecutively, that I have explained, and complete with heading, title with a description that goes above the table. All that I have mentioned to you. If it is a table, table number 1, full stop, then the title should be there. Everything. Table means above, figure means below. This is exactly the differentiation between these two. So don't put any title for the figure above. So tables and figures are assigned numbers. Table, for the first table you refer to is table number 1, table number 2, figure number 1, figure number 2, and likewise that you can clearly explain. And each table and figure must include a brief description. This is I told you just a few minutes back. Every table should be interpreted. So, but that interpretation is not going to the findings. But findings are coming in a later stage after this table, because they are the numbers. You just describe. You are exactly describing down. This is the table, but interpretation will be coming at the discussion and interpretation time. So you have to be very careful. So when they're referring to a figure, take an example. You can use this like fig 1 table. You look at it. There is a space. There is no full stop here. This is a full stop here. This is a full stop here. But here there is no. So you need to be very clear on the guideline that to be. So this is exactly we need to look into the technicalities. So the body of the results section is text-based. You can incorporate the tables and figures. Text should guide the reader also. Always, what is the model summary, then coming and all the variations, then coming to the beta, the pattern analysis and the t-test and the final strength of relationship. All these things clearly you should make a flow of it. So some problems that to be avoided when you write result section is do not reiterate each value from a figure on the table. No need. Do not present the same data in both table and figure. No need to do that. And do not report the raw data values. This means percentage. You don't require these kind of values inside your, what you would say, paper. We don't have the space to give you that because there is no finding coming out of that. What is most important thing is what findings are coming, that to be discussed and deliberated, that should be there. So the statistical summaries, this is another aspect exactly, that to be parenthetically in conjunction with the results exactly, biological or sociological or psychological, anything. Always report your result with parenthetical references according to this person's report, and likewise, you have to give that credit and then report it. All right. So this parenthetical references should include statistical test also. If statistical test have a cutoff value, Nunali 1972 indicated that 0.6 is the minimum cutoff point for Cronbach alpha that you mentioned, then you write in this particular research, the value getting is 0.72, hence it is accepted. So get a support parenthetically and then finally you place your fine. So parenthetical citation I have mentioned to you. This you look at here. Statistics confirm that the trend is rising. So you need to have proper citations inside. So statistical test summaries also pose it like this. Take an example. When you look at here, you can look at this way. Sometimes you can pose it like this together, average to centimeter, all these things and likewise. But the figures always try to put it in the bracket exactly. So if the summary statistics are shown in a figure, the sentence above need not report them specifically, but must include references to the figure. So these kind of things you have to strictly follow. All right, males average centimeters taller than females in AY pool biology. So you put it here and you're closing. Don't forget to close it down. All right. So this is most important thing. You are putting t-test value, degree of freedom also, and you are also putting the p-value, means that the level of significance. So all these things you can put it together. All right. So report, I have clearly mentioned, and you should not use. This is the thing to be avoided. Like many times using the word significant. You can avoid it. No need to use it exactly, and limit the use of significance word and likewise. And if your parenthetical statistical information include p-values and likewise, you have to show what level. Is it 0.001 level, 0.01 level, or 0.05 level significance? You have to clearly mention it. Then only it will be accepted, because we are looking upon the scores critical value. You got it. Sorry, critical value and calculated value. So when you have to look at these analysis, when the reviewers do it, they look at, is it at 0.5 level? Because the table, when they look at the class table, 0.05 is different from 0.01, different from 0.001 level. So we look at the scores properly. All right. So please take careful on these aspects. And when you report all these things, I'm not going very deep into that. All the sections clearly to be supported by what you would say, the content which is expected by the reviewers. But here, some people have a tendency that I don't get the significance, so I don't have to incorporate that into the table. All right, this should not be. Any negative results, which is exciting to some people to do the research, don't block them. Don't prohibit them to get into your analysis and get that, and they can take that variable to their location and they can do that. So report the negative results also. Don't think that I have to report always only what you would say positive results. No, you have to put the negative results also. So I have cleared the section. Now discussion and conclusion, only the two sections. So let me go through that last 5 minutes. What is basically discussion? You got into an analysis and you got the findings. These findings you try to corroborate and cross-validate with the past research scholars. So when you did the literature review, you got research findings a lot. Based on that, you did this research. And how many researchers' findings are supporting, you are supporting, and how many against it? Your findings totally different from the past research findings. That you have to make, that portion is called as discussion. So it does not simply repeat or rearrange the introduction sections and likewise. This particular time, you have to get those people who have supported and those people gone against. This literature, you have to bring it down, then corroborate that with your that findings you got it. What is your finding? What is your finding and what others finding? How others findings are different from my findings? There exactly lies the proper discussion. So your approach is like that, providing proper interpretation of your, and you're trying to bridge the sentences that connect. That means what others told, what is happening over here in Indore region or in Chennai region and likewise, and it is totally different. These are the bases with which it is different. That is exactly we call discussion portion. And every hypothesis you have incorporated into your analysis, that to be discussed in the discussion portion. Don't write in a cluttered way all the hypotheses together. If you have 10 hypotheses, we expect all the hypotheses to be discussed properly. So explain all your observations and all the designs, all the hypotheses, and finally that to be discussed over here. So try to offer alternative explanations here in this particular, you deliberate, and likewise give. If this is a situation, this will be leading to this kind of scenarios, you can talk about it. One experiment will not answer overall questions usually. So open up new avenues, what questions remaining, what you cannot attend. You have posed 5 research questions, but if you cannot attend one, please tell it out, these kind of things not. So what kind of recommendations you can, little bit suggestions you can have it here. All right. So relate your work to the findings of other studies. This is I told you, what exactly available to you at the time of your beginning of your research and what you got it after the conduction of research and how these two are different. Or some of the findings are similar, some of the findings are different. Which are these? And that deliberation to be made. So consider how the results of other studies may be combined with your studies, can be drawn from your results in the light of any new conclusions can be concluded from your findings, and briefly mention further studies you would to clarify or working hypothesis and likewise that you can integrate it. These studies cannot integrate the variables and likewise that to be discussed in the upcoming research and that you can talk about. And make sure to reference any outside sources as shown in the introduction section and likewise. So make sure to reference any outside sources, means that sources that you have incorporated into your introduction, don't use it once again. Any outside sources as shown in the introduction section, make sure it should be. All right. Then although you are, that means occasionally include these section tables and figures which help to explain, but this should not be incorporated or any table or any figure and any things kindly try to avoid in the discussion. It's a running matter. So they might have flow diagrams or these kind of things we are not entertaining in discussion. And now this is a major section of a journal journal paper. So when you write it down, so how to write the implication. So discussions means that start from the very beginning. I'm telling you, title, abstract, keywords, introduction, literature review, research questions, methodology, coming down to the analysis, and based on that discussion, and then coming to implication part. What are the different types of implications? I told you already. Implication means future consequence of these findings I have discussed. I discussed already the discussion portion, and based on the discussion, it will be leading to the stakeholders these kind of consequences. So it can be in the form of practical implications. What outcomes and implications for practice? How will the research impact upon the business or enterprises? What changes to the practice should be made as a result of this research? All right. And what is the commercial and economic impact of it? And likewise, these kind of things are basically in the practical. This is most important thing. Any research paper, why did you do that research and what the stakeholders got to get the benefit? This to be incorporated. This is practical. Another is decision-making level. Who is taking the decisions? Of course, top management. Who is going to implement that? This is the next level. So we need to look at that implications. If your topic is connected with then strategic level decisions, strategic business unit level or operation level or anything, you can. This we call it as managerial. In order to manage how your findings and consequences are facilitating for a better alternative decision-making process. Another, take an example, if you do any marital issues or sexual harassments or any kind of social issues like suicide or anything, any psychological issues, social implications are, the rate of suicide is going up. How we can, this kind of implications, these are the factors with which it is happened. This is coming from my findings. These findings are related to some of the findings coming from Australia also. Hence, because these kind of factors to be considered by the policymakers. All right, social implications. So this, many papers don't have this one. Usually when Emerald and likewise, when you look at it, they look at what are the social implications and practical implications. In addition to that, they also look into theoretical implications. Do your paper having this portion? Implication consist of? I'm not telling all these implications should come up, but at least one or two. Major one is practical and theoretical. Theoretical indicate that the recent literature you have incorporated into the paper or not, advancement of the literature you facilitated or not, which theory turned to be redundant and which theory need to be considered now contemporarily, why that theory is more useful in comparison with the others based on your research, because you are deductive research, deduction made from the theory. So it is going towards that. How did you do that? All right, this to be explained in the theoretical. So what do the results tell us about the underlying theoretical constructs? Because you have got the constructs from the theory, how it is matching up. When do the patterns emerge and how do they refine applications? All these things are the last but not least. Methodological means that if you try to integrate quantity and quality together, how it has worked out. All right, and then how it has given you a new finding, new consequence that you have to write it. If it is applicable, only write, otherwise don't. And the last portion of the research paper is how to write a beautiful conclusion. So always remember the difference between abstract, introduction, and conclusion. These are the three areas you should be very, very, very careful. When you see, when you write a conclusion, it is almost you completed the research. So when you have to complete the research, you started with research questions, objectives, and you got the analysis and the findings, and finally, what are the implication? But when you in the abstract, all these things are available, already available, but don't try to repeat it. So what are the things? But in the research, in the introduction portion, you are not declaring any results. You are not declaring any methods. Got it? That is the difference between abstract and introduction. But in the conclusion stage, what are the things to be there? These are the three areas we are looking upon when we read the review process, and likewise, writing a conclusion is the final part of the research paper. Drawing everything together and trying into your initial research. So the conclusion should summarize the main state of play. And the research, take an example, writing conclusion, the research paper starts with a broad outlook at the research and narrows down to the results. So you have to talk about what is the purpose of this research and what are the results you got it. What are the research questions you posed? How many research questions you could address? What kind of discussions you have made? And what kind of implications that paper led to? Everything to be connected with the sections you have incorporated into the paper. So when you write a proper conclusion, summarize and conclude, restating the main arguments you have posed. Don't deviate away from the research questions. Whatever the research questions you post, that only you have to reinstate need of that study and presenting the key conclusions and recommendations. State how your findings and new frameworks have supported to explain that in explaining the conceptual frames connected with the problem. Then state what are the implications for the future research. You can write the futures if you don't have a particular section, future scope of the study, you can integrate in the conclusion portion and write it down. And state the limitations of your research also. This is a frank approach. You are telling that you have around 5 to 6 variables. And during the study, I understood that these another 3-4 factors have also have an impact on this particular problem. But it's already reached to the final stage. That particular time only we understood these all the factors can be incorporated. You can tell that my future research scholars or any future research scholars who are coming to this particular research, this area of research, please incorporate this one and do it. And I couldn't do that, frankly, tell it out. So dawns, what are the dawns of this particular conclusion? Don't start a new topic. Don't introduce a new topic into the conclusion portion. And what are the things, what are the factors you are exactly incorporated? That factors only to be there in the conclusion. Don't repeat introduction. The purpose of this research, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that one. It should be completely distinctive from introduction. Make obvious statement contradict anything you said earlier. Always remember, what are the research questions for? What are the factors connected? Tell only that much. You don't have any right to incorporate any new variable in that particular to relieve from the problems you have created. No, don't do that. Conclusion must be in line with the previous sections and should not represent totally new results. So the phrases you can consider. While this study does not offer a conclusive answer to the question of this one, but it does this. You can write it in this way. This research relies important questions about this, in order to answer this problem. And likewise, you can start. As a result of conducting this research, I propose that. You can do that. You can write it this way. It would be fruitful to pursue further research about, in order to get a proper understanding about this, and likewise, that you couldn't address or you could address. If the policymakers were to take this study seriously, then they have to look at these aspects and likewise, you can write it that way. So conclusions must deal with always so what and now what questions. This is most important thing you need to look into. What is the difference between these two? So what? We have read this piece of research. The reader is asking, so what? So who cares about it? The writers must not leave this answer to the readers. And they don't have the time. They will easily get bored. You have 18 hypotheses, 10 hypotheses. You put all these in the paper. I'll be asking you this question. So what? So the conclusion must succinctly tell the reader how and why this particular research has been conducted, and it is leading to contribution to the significant practices, policy makers, or managerial implications. And likewise, this is important aspect. You have to incorporate a little proportion into the conclusion level of the implication, the future consequences. And they must also address implications for further research or action. Now you understand how to write it properly. It consists of the purpose. You got the results, you got the implications, how it's contributing, and finally, what are the things you couldn't complete it properly, and that to be left to the future scope of the study. Clearly, maximum you need around 200 and 250 words a lot, right? So what are the things you should avoid when you write? It's pretty easy to round off an article with a few pious statements, while resorting to clutch of tired phrases that won't cause your article to be rejected. Always remember, this is the exciting element you're talking. And by reading this also it can be rejected. It's not an exciting finding. It's not an exciting observation. As the conclusion is the last thing that reader will encounter, it's important that they finish with the things that you want them to remember. All the things that they have read in that paper, continuously it recalls to that particular reader. Oh my God, they did this population, that analysis of this finding, and this is the contributions make. All these things recall at any point of time. And that paper always stand alone. And that paper give you the beauty of it. And that's all today I have to share to you. It's also tend to be a hectic session for you. And I started with the structure of a paper, how to write it, outlining the structure. And certain things I didn't tell it. Maybe the upcoming session somewhere I can pitch into, but not now. It's so heavy session. Now it's almost reaching to 1 hour 45 minutes. So let me tell you a research paper structure. Title. Told you 3 types. Please remember that. Connecting that to abstract. After conducting entire research and after writing from methodology to that section only, you are supposed to, all right? So this is another aspect. So when you look into the title, 3 types of titles are coming into the picture. And when followed by that, you have to follow that keywords. Keywords are most important thing. Keywords are most important thing, and followed by that introduction, title, abstract, keywords, introduction. Coming back to the literature review, it consists of concepts, sub-concepts, hypothesis-based literature, and the theory. Followed by that, if you want to draw a conceptual frame, you can do it. Pose the research questions properly. Followed by that, follow the methodology. It consists of basically research design, population, what is the target population, and then coming to the sample size and the sampling technique. Followed by that, do the measurements. What are the tools you have used it? Whose tools you have used it? And it is connecting that to the measurement model analysis, right? Alpha, compact alpha, all the reliability and validity. Then analysis. After analysis, you do complete the result section, tables, speakers, proper. Then leading to that to the discussions. Important. Minimum 2 to 2 pages discussions we expect usually with all findings, all the hypotheses. Leading that to implications. Discussions leading to implications, and that implications, practical, managerial, theoretical, policy, technology, social, legal, anything can be, depends upon your topic, and that lead to proper conclusion. Don't forget, when you write the conclusions, all right, don't repeat the introduction part. You have to incorporate maximum level, you have to incorporate the findings and implications. How that particular study is useful to the stakeholders, and it is so new to, and how I couldn't address many factors, limitations, and future scope. And that's all exactly connected to your session today. And now it is open to everybody. If you have any questions and like this, you can ask. Thank you.
Excellent, Professor. I think I felt like starting a paper and ending a paper. I mean, you have covered the entire aspects within that short time with precisely, I think so. It's a great insight for all of us. Thank you. Probably participants will have questions. Let us listen. Thank you.
Anyone having any questions, please ask. I can support you back.
Participant feels free to unmute yourself and ask, or you can type it in the chat box. One of our coordinators can even read it out to sir.
Who is asking something about the frame? Oh, this is, I'm telling you, a frame, a conceptual framework. It's different. There is a question Shweta is asking. Sir, please explain how to frame a conceptual framework. Some of the research papers are qualitative in nature. Some of them are quantitative. So some of the conceptual papers are supported by reviewers to publish it in the journal. So that particular time, all the literature, you need to collect it. All literature, concepts, sub-concepts, and definitions, all these things, you need to collect it. And after that, a lot of sub-concepts and concepts you will be getting, and selection of those concepts connected to your context to be made. And that will be supported by the past findings and likewise, and it will be leading to the conceptual frame. So the literature review process exactly will be leading to the conceptual frame. Once that is formed, it is not connected with the theory. Always remember, there is a big difference between conceptual frame and a theoretical frame. Conceptual frame is the frame you are generating with the support of literature review. Okay, but the time when you get a conceptual frame, take an example, attitude and subjective norm will be leading to intention. Okay, so what is the attitudinal factor? What is the subjective norm factor? And what is the intention factor? That's only you have to mention. So this frame, conceptual frame, to be supported by a theory. And if you look upon theory of reasoned action, that indicate that attitude and subjective norm will be leading to intention. So you got the variable from the literature. This is your theory of TRA. You put the variables on the top of it. There exactly that particular frame is supported. So here, a theory is supporting your conceptual frame. And that frame consists of the hypothesis. That frame consists of the hypothesis. It's not the conceptual frame. It is, people are misusing this term too much. Conceptual frame is to be treated in the conceptual plane, concept abstract level, but a theoretical frame to be integrated. This is the question I'm addressing. There is a big difference between a theoretical frame and a conceptual frame. A conceptual frame is coming from literature review, but a theoretical frame, how the concepts are integrated with a theory, that is to be explained in theoretical frame. So we don't have any affair in quantitative research, the conceptual frame. We are exactly using theoretical frame. A theory to be, or multiple theories to be supported by the concepts you have taken, So this is conceptual frame, and this is theoretical too. In between, the theory is coming. So passage is like that: conceptual frame from the literature review, leading to the explanation of a theory connected with a problem, and that will be leading to the theoretical frame, which consists of hypothesis. So these three things to be completely understood before you go for any quantitative research. Why? Because your constructs, even though coming from literature review, to be fully supported by a theory. If theory is not there, no testing possible in the case of quantitative research. So this is totally, it's a hardcore quanti without understanding that a lot of people are doing research. So take an example, I'm around 28 universities in India. I'm the external evaluator, foreign evaluator. Foreign means that external PhD thesis evaluator. When I'm getting the thesis, I'm not seeing any connection between, I'm telling you, any connection between the constructs they have got it from the literature and the theory they have followed to substance. Always remember one thing: your theory is explaining the problem. Your theory is still supporting you to explain the problem. The concepts, you got it. The concepts, then these are the concepts, and this is exactly the theory. So this should be fit completely to, then it won't shake, it won't fall. If it is not, if there is no theory supporting to you, it's not, that findings are not convincing to the jury. I'm not talking about as a PhD, I'm a reviewer also in Scopus, WOS, and all kinds of high impact journals. So when I'm getting that, my first question, where is the frame? What is the theory? Finished. If not there itself rejection. Within few minutes, rejections are happening. You got it? So I hope, Shweta, you understood this one. And we can have different sessions on the difference between a conceptual frame and a theoretical frame and a research frames, and likewise, it's all different concepts. Right? Any question?
Thank you so much, sir. The participants can unmute yourself and clarify your doubt.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Amra.
Thank you for the wonderful session, sir. I was very eager for your session. It really proved me very helpful. I have a doubt regarding the plagiarism part. Sir, you said if you have to avoid plagiarism, I have heard if we quote it and then you give it in the references also, will that also be
it will be
constituted as a plagiarism?
When you do turn it in,
yeah.
Don't put it. Usually when you evaluate, you have to take out the referencing. So you can give, don't put the referencing when you put the, what you would say, the entire research paper. You can avoid the title. Even title you can put it, you can avoid the author's name, everything. Sometimes author's name also catching up. So what you can do is that take out all the referencing and put that content alone, body alone, not reference. So that itself is reducing a little bit. But the problem is that some of the terms you cannot avoid. Take an example, standard deviation, SD, or correlation, R squared. This will catch. That you can justify. If it is going up also, that you can justify based on only technical terms you are using. You are using independent variable many times. So it will be significant you are using, that will be catching up. But definitions are one of the things you can get major plagiarism. Definitions, you cannot touch it at all. You are not authorized to touch any definitions of anybody. That to be completely given, credit should be given to that particular scientist or author. What you can do, put that into inverted comma. And you can give suggestions at the time of your analysis. Inverted comma once you can avoid checking. So that particular things won't be coming up. Then another option, take an example, so many definitions you want to tell it out. So many definitions. How you can avoid plagiarism, what you can do is that put definitions, when you put the content inside the table, the size of the word, that particular font size should be 10, not 12. Okay. So inside the table, anything you put, it will be 10 size. Okay. So that will reduce the number. So you can put 1, 2, 3 for one table, definition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, major 5 definitions or 6 definitions, you can take it and you write it in the second column, and the third column, what this definition talking about. Okay. And after that, you can convert that table. You put that into a Word, and Word to JPEG, you can try Word to JPEG. So when you put it into a JPEG image, it won't catch. The words cannot catch. So that way, the definitions, all these things can be protected, and you can show it also. So another thing, when you get the findings also, if you feel that, take an example, the results of this particular analysis indicate that. So you can tell the observations made by this analysis or this table clearly report that. Some sort of rephrasing or paraphrasing you can do. And that only can, with which it can go down to below 10% plagiarism. So we expect usually a good journal. Take an example now, I have sent around 7 to 8 articles for this corpus publication and ABDZ one. So in this year, so it will be taking some time to come one by one. But I'll tell you that I have ensured that all those articles having below 5% plagiarism. It is a must. It is a must. And just because of that factor itself, desk rejections happening. So we need to reduce it. So any kind of findings when you are bringing from other scholars, you can paraphrase it and you can incorporate, but any quotations and definitions, don't do that. And anywhere there is a possibility for paraphrasing, please do it without losing that content's context or the meaning. Yes, Sandra.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions? Anybody, if you have any questions also, you can come to a lot of sessions are happening across me, and it is purely connected with recently, which I have connected for one in Pakistan is instrument development, adoption. That is in the research paper, only one section that how to do that measurement model analysis. And it took around 2 hours explanation of it and like this. So a lot of things you need to understand when you write clear-cut technical terms. Just because of that, rejections are happening. Take an example, who is the author, how many items, how the items are separated, whether it is adapted or adopted. If it is adapted, why you have done CFA. If it is adapted, why you have done CFA, which is a wrong thing. It is CFA, it means confirmatory factor instead of that exploratory factor to be conducted. So these kind of technicalities are looking upon by the reviewers that you have. Then one is coming up, Dr. Sasikala. Sir, can you suggest any free Excel ad for, what is that ad? INS is for adding Excel for analysis. I won't be using any Excel sheet for my analysis. I'll be using only PLS or AMOS nowadays, and now also using R analysis. These are the 3 I'm practicing. I'm not even using SPSS too much, because SPSS, I think they have integrated now that option, but it doesn't have the ability to reduce the standard errors. So standard errors going up means that your predictability percentage will be going down. R square is going down. So in order to protect that, I used to follow either PLS or AMOS. Nowadays also R analysis, that's for you. If I'm writing a paper on economics and likewise, I'm using eView. If I'm writing paper on financial data analysis, secondary data analysis, and I'm using Strata. And if I'm going through fully qualitative research and likewise, I'll be using usually InVivo. 2 softwares I know, Atlas and InVivo, but I like InVivo better. It's quite good. So these are the softwares I'm using exactly, the tools I'm using. And tools itself is a great area that to be explored. how to do the proper, this today I have covered only the writing portion, but what are the tools we can use, and likewise that itself is amazing area, like it is available now. So I used to do it as another session exactly. So just for the sake of what you say, I can show you that one. I don't know whether it is available in my this one. All right, let me just, this is one thing I can show you. Here it is, see, this is another one. Okay, if you look upon this one, this itself is talking only, this is another, I thought that I can integrate this one. So a lot of databases are there that you can follow. Then these are the tools we are talking about really. And top, what you would say, referencing tools also, search engines also. These are the tools we need to know before you go for a research, and common tools for managing references and Mendeley, and likewise it is available, a lot of things. So here it takes another ocean of knowledge to get into that. And these tools I can tell you a lot, but these are all to be either purchased. If you look upon here, we can see that a lot of tools which we are using, even measurement model analysis, we can use rash analysis also. So a lot. So this one I couldn't target it this time, but it can be have a different time, and a different time when I'm getting free, and likewise I can share you. But you need to be very clear of the way you have written your papers, and at the same time I'll tell you all the things are coming from how you did the research. That exactly you are explaining only in the paper, right? So 200 pages of a thesis will be converted to 10 page of 5,000 words. So meticulously you need to reduce the jargons, all kinds of things which can be those words which can be appealing to that reviewers, that should be there. Otherwise it will be rejected. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. The participants were really admired by your presentation, and thank you so much. It was really a very informative session of what should be done and how it should be done. And probably when we fix up an appointment with you for digital tools, we will definitely do that also, because that also matters a lot for finding the discussions and writing the discussions, coming up with the tables. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Deepa.
Professor, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
When you visit India, please do come to Chennai, and we are here. We do invite you, Professor. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Thanks a lot, everybody. Stay in touch and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
The feedback link will be posted in the chat box. You can just key in your data for e-certificate.